Okay, so a couple of things. Let me just grab this here. Someone left their biology textbook. Someday this will be a robot just following me. That would be amazing, actually. Okay, we could put a man in Mars. Why can't we make a robot follow teachers? I mean, this is basic, right? Oops, sorry. Okay, biology. These are all here for a purpose, so I'm going to run through all of these. But before we do that, what are we dissecting on Thursday? Let's pull that up. We are dissecting an earthworm, right? That's the first dissection. So, earthworm dissection. We're going to lay there on the pad. We're going to have these needles that we put to kind of stay open when we cut it open. We'll try and have about 5 groups of people. If you have an earthworm of your own, you could bring that in. So please, let's talk about lab basics quickly. Some of you are here for mostly the lab discussion. So Thursday, let's blast through the lab. And then I want to tell you a little bit about chapter 9. I'll do that. By the way, there is an actual comprehensive test that goes over chapters 1 to 8. It's optional, but I think it'll be fun. Anyone want to take it? Okay, 1. So I'm going to get a copy of that just for fun. Just see how well you've retained everything from chapter 1 to chapter 8. Wouldn't that be cool? So this is a question. Let's see how many questions it has. It has 29 questions, and it's graded out of 51 points. Okay, let's quickly talk about, well, let's not talk about the test yet, just because some of you will need to know about it. Okay, let's start with the lab. Okay, we need gloves. Please, the latex gloves are fine. I know some people are allergic, so if that's a problem, then please look for another option. So we need gloves. We need specimen. If you have your specimen, why don't you just bring it so we have fun with it together? Everybody get that? So you need gloves. You need specimen, such as earthworm itself, right? So we're going to do earthworm on Thursday, and then let me see the next one. So you're ready. Oh, and then crayfish. So earthworm and crayfish, we can hit those two. We'll see how the earthworm goes, and if we're ready to tackle round 2, we'll just tackle both of them. Why not, right? Because if you dissect the earthworm and you see the different parts, because that's a big part of chapter 9, is the parts of the earthworm. Okay, so in this booklet, or if you're doing your review question, this is just a booklet. You open to the page and it has the earthworm. Everybody see that? And that's what you need to know for the most part in order to flourish on your tests. Everybody get that? This is like a big part of it, parts of the earthworm. Okay? So we need to know the parts of the earthworm. We need to know the pharynx, the esophagus, the crop, the intestine. Those are key features to know for the test. The other thing we need to know for the test is these definitions. We're going to pick about 8 of them from these definitions, and you should be comfortable sharing what they are. So know those definitions, know the part of the earthworm, and know the characteristics of these types of creatures. Everybody should know the characteristics of insects. I mean, honestly, this is funny though. You're not supposed to cheat on an exam, but what happens if a cockroach comes on your desk while you're studying cockroaches? Are you allowed to look at the cockroach and oh yeah, it has an antenna? That's actually profound. I've never thought about that. Is that cheating? No. Isn't that profound?
That's just a sign from someone. I'm pretty sure that's
I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, you're talking about sunflowers and you've forgotten the parts and one just flies in front of you. You close your eyes.
Depends on what kind of school you go.
That's true.
It's probably God trying to help you on the test, maybe.
Honestly, I'm telling you today that it's okay to do that. Sometimes God can teach you.
What if you set it up?
No, that's cheating. If you lay eggs of cockroaches around the room, that's cheating.
Who would do that anyway?
Well, don't do that. Okay, I grew up with, in a tropical climate, you deal with cockroaches, you deal with lizards, you deal with all these things, and I just like people. That's it. I don't like any animals or creatures. Oh, yes, go ahead.
Mark Christian already dissected the crayfish.
Oh, you did, right? Oh, maybe you could help us have a lead discussion about crayfish. You could be a crayfish specialist. Thank you for volunteering. Okay, so your review questions, there's 25 of them. This question right here, number 16, even those who are ahead of us, let's read the question quickly. What is the Cambrian explosion and why is it a problem for evolution? There's a whole book on just this in my office. The Cambrian explosion. Why is the Cambrian explosion a problem? Everybody, let's know that for last major question for the test. Okay, gloves, specimen. We've locked away our knives, of course, but we want you to have, if you have the kit, you have to check it in right away, okay? Let me know if you have a kit, though, after class. Actually, let Lily know, and she'll give me a list of people, okay? So tell Lily if you have the kit, or if you have specimens, so we can add it to our 4. We only have 4 right now, and that will be a lot of people around one earthworm. Everybody get that? So anybody else have an earthworm?
If it rains.
Okay, okay. Which, I mean, this is unbelievable, the weather out there, but anyone, earthworm? I know the Cyberbergs have something, though.
Yeah, come on.
Well, good. We have one more, so we have 5. We might have to have like 4 to 5 people in each group. So what we'll do is, another thing we need is, you know how you have party things where you have these things you put on the table, like from Dollar Tree, or what are they called? Like tablecloth, disposable tablecloth. We don't want to have to go wash it. So everybody, we're going to put the tablecloth. Tell me, today we'll get back in our groups again. You guys will have, let's say, 2 people there, 2 people here, maybe, yeah. So about 4 to 5 people, you have the dissection happen. Somebody can take notes, and then you guys discard your gloves, and you basically, all the tools you use, we need to make sure they're clean properly, put away safely. So it's going to be really watching you guys closely. So Thursday, right when we come, after the guest speaker, we'll come here, we'll get to work dissecting. Sound good? We probably should use the other room so we don't scare the kindergarten to 3rd graders, would you think? Yeah, they don't walk in here in formaldehyde. They're too young for that. So let's do it on the other
They'll be
side.
traumatized. They need a lot. They might need a lot of therapy.
No, let's not do that to them. So please, let's do lab
Therapy, all
over
in
there.
therapy.
Right?
That'll go well.
Okay, any other questions? If it is this nice outside, we might as well just do it outside.
Yeah, get over this.
And any questions about the lab before we transition away from lab? Specimen, knives, tablecloth. Yes.
It's not a question, but my mom has like a whole entire box of gloves that
Oh.
she uses to clean her
Yeah, can you help us bring, if you don't mind, let's see who all brings gloves, okay? We might have excess, but we have like 5 things to dissect. So we'll do the earthworm. If we're done by 9:25 and you get the gist of earthworms, we'll actually start the crayfish, okay? We'll just get those done at the same time. Now, some of you might choose to prefer to wear masks. Nobody's going to judge you. That's okay. I don't like the smell of formaldehyde, okay? So,
Would a mask really keep that smell out?
it would reduce it, I would think. It would help. Anything helps, so. It's just that masks have kind of gotten a really bad rap now, so you can't just wear them for any purpose, even if it's a legitimate purpose. Thanks.
Isn't that cool?
Yes, go ahead.
When's the test?
That's a perfect question. Let me grab the schedule right here, and I'll answer your question accordingly. Right now, it's scheduled 2 weeks out. Anybody have the date exactly? If you don't, I'll just look at it right here, and it is. Can I get back to you, Kaylin? I have to go look online and compare notes.
It's due, I think it's the 16th, or I'm pretty sure it's due the 16th.
The test is on the 16th?
It's due this Friday the 16th, but I don't know.
Yeah, why don't we do this for Chapter 9 test? I will probably assign that to your parents to do at home. Because that's the homeschool convention in North Dakota, Thursday, Friday. And yeah, let's have you guys do Chapter 9 with your parents. In North Dakota, they have a homeschool convention on that Friday, Saturday. So some people go, it's not mandatory. Okay, so quickly by Thursday, what do I want you guys to have done? Can we be all the way, actually this week, try and read half the chapter at least, and then next week you can finish the rest. That would be ideal. Sound like a plan? Okay, the definitions, we'll talk about them, but I want those who need to leave in a second. But everybody, please, if you know what's on the board and the parts of the earthworm, you just call yourself an A. That's it. Okay, there's really nothing else. Those who are using Apologia, you are in Module 13. It is called Invertebrates, and that's what the focus is for Unit 13. I didn't find some of those slides, but these microscopes are available in case you want to see things like Hydra and other things that we can put under the microscope. So please, if you have the slides, if you don't mind, bring those along Thursday too. So let's say people finish dissecting and they just want to kind of look at the microscope, we can do that as well. Maybe you can even look at parts of the earthworm under the microscope. That would be interesting. I don't think anyone has done that in modern history, but we don't follow norms in the school. Okay. Hydra was discussed earlier on, and then planaria. These two things are very good descriptions of how labs, like we have microscopy discussed, and then they go into other types of labs that are done in a typical biology type setting. Lab safety and first aid. So please, if you have, well, we have a first aid kit, but if you don't mind just bringing Band-Aids just in case, we'll add that to our first aid kit. And hopefully those who are cutting are certified. I'll make sure they're certified first before they cut. Okay, any questions about Thursday's lab before we switch gears? I have one more announcement and then we'll switch gears. Okay, let's talk about what's in front of me here quickly. This is fast forward mode, but we're recording so you can go back and watch it. The biology does have the option to CLEP. It does. The CLEP test is not for the faint in heart because it's a lot of concepts on one day. However, we have the biology CLEP, we have the CLEP book for all the subjects here, and the biology CLEP is discussed. So basically they tell you 33% of the test talks about molecular and cell biology, things like cell division, DNA replication, stuff like that. 34% talks about different systems, like the skeletal system, the nervous system, and things like that. So that's about 34%. And then the remaining 33% is actually ecology, which we haven't covered yet, but we will. If you want to get college credit, which automatically gives you high school credit, okay, so if you get college credit for a class, you have the high school credit, essentially, at the same time. So if you want to get college credit for it, we have 3 of these books available to you all. There's another way to get college credit for biology, and that's through the AP exam, which is different from the CLEP exam. It is up to you to check it out to see which model you like better, but they are very similar, made from the same company, but we have the AP exam as well. Whenever you're studying for a standardized test, it's a good idea to have multiple copies or publishers of that test. So therefore, we have another AP exam. So we basically have 2 different AP exams. And the reason why this helps is like you play, imagine you play basketball, okay? And you're playing with the Salvation Army kids and they're learning how to play one way. But then you go over here and you play with the YMCA kids and they're playing a certain way. That's what happens when you use multiple types of books to study. I had a friend who got, someone I knew who was a part of the program I came from in Nigeria, and he got a perfect score on the SAT. This was before they lowered the bar, okay? SAT was not funny. Back then, if you guessed, you lost more points. So you couldn't guess. Does that make sense? You wanted to either leave it blank or know that you know it. Does that make sense? So it was one of those, normally when you take a test and you get it wrong, you just get it wrong, right? No, not for that test. That test you lost out more if you guessed. He got a perfect score, okay? Which is what Bill Gates got. Shows you the kind of people that get perfect scores. Whether or not you like Bill Gates' politics, he got a perfect score, okay? Which got him into Harvard, and he dropped out, and the rest is history. But Harvard is the most prestigious university in the world. Anyways, this guy got a perfect score, and I remember sitting next to him when we were checking our scores, right? And I didn't get a perfect score, and that's okay. To get a perfect score, you just didn't have a life. That's part of it. You studied all the time. But then I was like, oh, I got a perfect score. And he didn't like jump when he saw his results. Like, imagine you look, you get a perfect score, which literally means your college is paid for free. Okay? That's like, you're going to get and he got a full ride to the #1 school in the world in chemistry. But it's like, you got a perfect score. Oh, okay. And then later I emailed him when I was in America teaching, and I actually said, I remember you got a perfect score. Can you tell me what you did? Because I remember what happened. He replied and he said to me, when I was studying, I took 3 textbooks from 3 authors and finished it 3 times. That's what he did. I'm like, that makes sense. He wasn't just goofing off. He was studying with 3 different types of books. And then he told me, when you use Barron's, you get this kind of training. When you use Kaplan, you get this kind of training. When you use this, I'm like, makes sense. Everybody get it? So if you're taking CLEP test, it's not a bad idea to use variety to study for the CLEP test. Okay. Module 13, that's the other people. This is something that is available to you guys. I just want to make a comment. This one is just a bonus. It's called How to Read a Book. It's actually a classic by Mortimer Adler. It's by Mortimer Adler. So Mortimer Adler is a boss. Let's just leave it there. Okay, these books, I have 2 copies. Talk about the evidence for evolution and what's the rebuttal. Very good books if you have a heart for having those discussions. A lot of the book is still available. We have extra copies, and I sometimes will reference it in light of evolution. Remember, our guest speaker is next week. Please, Tuesday, let's try and invite our friends. Why is this topic of evolution so important? Listen to the title of this book, The Smithsonian Intimate Guide to Human Origins. This is not, when I tell you that our society believes in evolution, I'm not saying they believe it and they keep it on the outskirts. I'm saying that's the narrative of this nation on the scientific level, is that you evolved. We came, like, that's just how it is. Like, you look at the evidence that is presented in this book, and they have pictures that supposedly look at, like, your ancestors and mine. Like, this is not a joke. Do you guys get what I'm saying? I know you kind of get it, but, like, most people you meet down the street really think you evolved, and what's the big deal? Why are you special? You just came from an ape-like ancestor. This question is way more complicated than the culture realizes, because if you evolved and I evolved, there is no purpose or meaning in our lives. Everybody get that? There is none. No matter how we want to feel about it, our lives literally don't matter. But I don't know if our culture understands that enough. Because if we did, then maybe this would be it sounds terrible, but it's almost like, should we be telling kids that? Should we be telling kids that your life doesn't matter? But that's kind of what you're doing. And then you look at society and you wonder why kids are going off the rails sometimes. Well, it doesn't help that you're telling them they don't have purpose. And then they might say, well, but that's what science says. And that's why you tell them, excuse me, I'm sorry, that's not what science says. Evolutionary history is historical science that is a theory that needs to be challenged, and therefore we should give other people like creationists a chance to speak. That's what I'm trying to get at. Everybody get that? And please, your life matters. You're created for a purpose. Every one of you have value because you were made. If you were not made, you can't say that. You can never talk about objective purpose and meaning. Do you see the difference? This is where logic comes in. If, then. If you were created for a purpose, then your life has meaning because the one who created you can give it meaning. If you evolved, then everything is just going along by chance. And therefore your life has no meaning. I think now more than ever before, our young people in America need to be told that their lives have meaning. And it's not just because we want to feel good, as Karl Marx or people like Karl Marx would say that religion is the opiate of the people. Some people believe in God to feel good. Not at all. Not at all. Have you ever studied the human heart? Have you ever studied the brain? Are you telling me those things came together by chance? Then I'm sorry you have too much faith, and I'd rather not go that way. I'd rather go with the one who created it, right? Okay. This is just a Cliff Notes book that you can study for this. So I'm going to put the pile for CLEP. This pile is a very good pile to use to study for the CLEP. If you love microscopes, we have a book here that you can use. Last two things. This is the alternative CLEP to biology that is an easier CLEP to just bag 3 credits. Just bag 3 credits. And it's called Natural Sciences. So it's not as in-depth, but it literally could just give you 3 credits. Easy 3 credits. So if you're like, I don't know if I want to take a CLEP test, I'm not comfortable, I want to start easy, you know what I mean? It's like, I want to play the Vikings first, you know what I mean? Like, you want to play an easy team, right? Or the Lions, which was, this year, I don't know what happened, they seemed good. I don't even know about football, I just know that they were pretty good. But then you should do this. Does everyone get this? Everybody get this book? Very easy because it's a good introduction to CLEPing. So if you're afraid of CLEPing, literally look at this book and you'll go, I got this, yep. And so take that first and then you take biology. The last 2 things, how many of you have seen this paper about Michael Faraday and James Clerk Maxwell? It's a great paper. I'm going to record a video on it. I'll send it to you guys if you prefer to listen while you're lifting weights and running. But this is a great paper. I'm going to be giving a talk next week, Tuesday about it. And so I just want to encourage you guys to check it out. And then last of all, this is just a great supplement that will help you love the concept more. Let's add it to the CLEP. So that's your CLEP set right there for those who want to CLEP. Even though it says AP Biology, the way AP Biology is written is actually could help you study for the CLEP. Because the concepts are the same, it's just laid out a certain way. Does that make sense? So, are there any questions about lab, CLEP, biology, before we quickly touch on these definitions? By the way, chapter 9 is probably our easiest chapter yet, just because it's like invertebrates, like insects and things like that. Yes?
Do the kits come with like the things you're just setting, or are you going to remove?
Like the knives and stuff?
Not with the knives, like the worms and the crayfish.
So I have the worms and the crayfish. But some people have worms and crayfish too, so I'm going to have them bring theirs and we can dissect. So we have at least 5 sets as of now. And that will put us at about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. yeah, so we'll be fine. Yeah. But if you have it, please bring it. There's no reason to be storing away earthworms in your house. So bring those out. I have probably 4 or 5 sets of the dissection kit, and the dissection kit, actually, Wisdom, can you bring that up there, that thing up there, that's the pad there. I want to make sure, I think I have more than enough of those actually. No, the one below it. So. Yep, thank you. And so we should have, if you have these at home, feel free to bring it. We need to wash these and clean them well. We need to wash and clean them well. This is going to be a key part of dissection, is that we'll use this to kind of hold down the different parts of the earthworm. And then what I might have you do is actually, when you finish and you put the different pins, take a picture of that and like save it somewhere. Does that make sense? Then if anyone ever comes and says, you never dissected an earthworm, you can say, well, I have evidence right here, right? I'm kidding, nobody's gonna do that. But this is just fun. Let's just have it on file. Everybody get that? So this kit, if you have as well, like the pad and you know all of this, please bring that in on Monday as well. Any other questions for Thursday? So that's all we do Thursday. There's no lecture on Thursday. And then when we finish with those gloves and put them away, please, I beg of you, wash your hands, saying A, B, C, D in English and Greek, okay? And then I'm kidding. Most of you don't know Greek. You can say it in Latin, but and I'm not insulting anyone. I just don't know.
I have Latin.
Yeah, do it in Latin. That's fine. Is there ABCs in Latin?
Yeah, I think it's just the English ABCs.
Oh, really?
Exactly.
I'm so ignorant.
Okay, then we can do that then.
So wash your hands twice before you shake anyone's hands. Can we go? Are we good? Please. Okay. I don't want some things to start flying around. That's what I have for the announcements. I'm not going to take too much of your time, but I do want to. I'm going to circle the ones that are very, very important, and then we'll discuss them. And you can actually write it out today, and then call it good as you start studying. Next week, Monday, we'll have another lecture, and then next week, Thursday, we'll wrap up chapter 9, and then Friday, that weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, hopefully you can take your chapter 9 test. Chapter 9 literally has like 4 categories of questions, and they go by pretty quick. Okay, I know 2 of you are not in chapter 9. A couple of you, if you need to sneak out, you can do that without any problems. Chapter 9. Are we ready for the key terms that I want us to zoom in on? Let's start with hermaphroditic. Let's start with that word. Okay, that's the first one right here. Everybody should have these definitions. So let's start with that first definition. So in chapter 9, 9.1, it talks about different terms like invertebrates, invertebrates. A vertebrate has a backbone and an invertebrate does not. If you feel along the middle of your back from your neck to your tailbone, right, that's like vertebrate. Everybody get that? So there's vertebrates and invertebrates. We are vertebrates. Okay. Invertebrates have certain characteristics such as an endoskeleton and an exo. Well, actually, invertebrates do not have bones, sorry, but there are definitions in your book where we talk about endoskeletons and exoskeletons. The first definition there of an ectothermic organism is an organism that cannot control its internal body temperature. It cannot control its internal body temperature, right? That's what ectothermic means, cannot control internal body temperature. Follow along with me on page 255 if you just want to write that. Could not control its internal body temperature. Okay, how terrible would that be if you could not control the temperature, right? That would be a tough thing. And that's why with babies especially, you have to be very careful in allowing them to get very cold and struggle temperature-wise because they're not as well in regulating their body temperature, right? So you always want to help them out. So an ectothermic organism cannot control its internal body temperature. An hermaphroditic organism is a situation in which a single individual can carry both male and female gametes. That's what this means. It can carry both male and female gametes. Now, there are people, you guys are very familiar with our culture topics going on. Maybe you're not. I'm not going to go into too much detail. But there are people that argue that we should celebrate diversity because there are people that have certain genetic situations. They have certain genetic situations where they have both male and female sort of characteristics, so to speak. But the thing is, you can't use an exception to try to justify a whole policy. You find one exception over here, Is that what we make the norm? And our culture is so quick to try and find exceptions to the norm so we can celebrate certain things. Does that make sense? And so this is one thing I just want you to be aware of, that it is part of the movement going on, or discussion going on in America. We really need people to realize that there was a fall, and because of the fall, there are certain things genetically that will be not normal, so to speak. Does that make sense? There are people who are born with 6 fingers. There are people who are born with 3 legs. Like, these things happen. Unfortunately, in some cultures, they actually put away people because of how they are born in some of those physical defects. Some people are called cursed because they have, extra teeth here or whatever. And that's why it's that we have to be careful. That does happen. I remember in India, somebody was born with 3 legs and it became a whole thing, and they thought that they were a goddess being born. And it's just like, this is just not the way we should roll. But that is what happens in society. And I am saying everyone, should be loved, but the truth needs to be told, and not everything should be accepted as normal. Okay, so that's hermaphroditic. They have both male and female gametes. How about metamorphosis? Anyone know what metamorphosis is? Metamorphosis. This is where language can help, right? When you can break a word down. Yes?
When an animal, like when it's a baby, it's one way, but then when it gets older, it's like completely different.
That is correct. It changed, like butterflies, right? We talk about the cocoon, and so it's a developmental stage where an immature organism goes through extensive changes in body plan to enter an adult stage. Now, you can look at the exact definitions from your book, but here's the key thing. You can always paraphrase the definition. So here's how to study that. When you read a chapter, so you read the chapter, that's great. Then you want to write out the definitions, that's great. But if you have to study for a test that is closed book, take the notes you took when you read the chapter and took notes, and make those into shorter notes in your own words. Does that make sense? It's like another layer. So like when I did biochemistry or some of the other courses in high school, I'll take my whole notebook. When I had to take there was a final exam we had to take, which was basically all of this in one day, right? All of this plus more in one day. So we'll take it, and guess what I did with this? I made it into little flashcards or little notes and tiny notes, so then I could study off that rather than trying to read this all over and over again. Make sense? So, read the chapter, take notes, and then make notes from the notes you took. So, metamorphosis deals with that immature organism, so it's not yet where it needs to be. Think of a butterfly. There's 2 types of metamorphosis, complete and incomplete metamorphosis. Everybody, have you heard of those before? So complete and incomplete metamorphosis. They start from the egg, and then they go to one step, and then another step, and then an adult. The other one starts with one step, it becomes something in between, and then it becomes an adult, right? So there's complete and incomplete metamorphosis. Excellent. Bilateral and radial symmetry. Anyone have those for us? What are the differences? When you hear the word bilateral symmetry and radial symmetry, what kind of comes to mind? I'm actually going to read this one from the Apologia book, Butler's book. Yes?
The radiolarians.
Radiolarians come to mind, okay? The idea of a radial, think of is there's a radial symmetry can be cut into 2 identical halves by any longitudinal cut through its center. So we have longitudinal cuts, and then the bilateral would be a single longitudinal cut along the center divided into 2 equal halves. So if you open in your books, that's chapter 9. Let's go down. Let's see where they give you the first one. Sorry, 1 second. Perfect. This is on page 260. So they give you a sketch of a planarian. The most well-known free-living flatworms come from genus Planaria, and they are called planarians. If you ever try the liver experiment, they actually referenced the liver experiment earlier, but you can cut certain things a certain way. You could cut them this way, you could cut them this way, you could cut them this way. Does that make sense? There's different ways to cut organisms, and that's part of what the symmetries are, right? So like for humans, there's certain things that we have 2 of, like we have 2 lungs, right? And so there's a picture of a human in the Apologia book. Let me see if they give you, okay, they don't give us that one of the human, but I'll give you an anatomy book. In an anatomy book, you see how there's different cuts you can do. Now, when we talk about human beings, though, we do need to remember, and this is going to come up, it comes up in the Apologia book, This is the right side, and this is the left side. And that's how you describe humans. You describe it as you talking about yourself. Okay, let's move on to, so bilateral symmetry and radial symmetry are discussed around page 255. I'm going to go back here. Bilateral symmetry is capable of being divided into two halves that have mirror images of each other. So mirror images of each other. That's the key word, mirror images of each other. Okay, so that's bilateral symmetry. Most animals with which you're familiar have bilateral symmetry. So cats, dogs, and birds, for example, have a left side and a right side that are mirror images of one another. Okay, let's go to radial symmetry. A symmetry that arises from a central axis. That's it. Symmetry that arises from a central axis. Okay. Okay, perfect. What is an open circulatory system? When you hear open circulatory system, what do you think comes to mind? Now, I know you haven't read the chapter, but I just want you to see that some of these terms are not way outside of reason. Like what is a circulatory system in human beings? Like what is the main organ in that? Heart, right? So your heart, the veins, the arteries, but our circulatory system is not exposed, clearly, right? Which is a good thing. Can you imagine that? Okay, leave my heart alone, right? You're going to be protecting yourself all the time. We don't have to do that, right? Now we have to do that metaphorically. Boys and girls get themselves into trouble breaking one another's hearts. Don't be doing that, okay? Just avoid it. If you're not ready for marriage, don't even touch it, okay? That's the only heart you should be guarding, okay? Someone comes and wants to touch your heart, say, leave me alone. You love Jesus more than me? They say no, tell them, go away, okay? That's what, the only heart you can protect. But a human heart is, we're close, we're good. Isn't that a blessing? No, guys, we take certain things for granted, but you could have situations where your heart is outside your body, and that would be terrible. It's like your brain being outside your head. Wouldn't that be terrible?
People have that, like, disability.
Yeah, but it's a thing, right? But I'm saying as a general rule, it's not everybody that we have to kind of, because then imagine medical doctors every day. If you have 7 billion people with hearts outside, I don't think we would be 7 billion, but yes, go
When I
ahead.
was in 5th grade, my best friend's cousin had the condition where her heart was, like, not where the heart was supposed to be. It was like,
Really?
yeah.
I'm sorry. And I mean, heart stuff is really difficult. But we have a closed circulatory system, and then your book talks about an open circulatory system. It's a system in which blood is not confined to blood vessels, but is pumped into the body cavity to have direct contact with the organs. Page 266. So, in our bodies, we have arteries and veins that deal with taking blood, taking it around, getting it purified, getting it oxygenated, so to speak, and coming back. So the respiratory system and the circulatory system, there's a connection, right? I remember last year you guys did this in general science. I think you talked about circulatory system, respiratory system. We are going to discuss a little bit more of that when we get to humans. And then a friend of mine who's a cardiologist actually will be willing to talk with us. Unfortunately, it's most likely going to be over Zoom, but at least you can ask him any questions. And so a cardiologist deals with the circulatory system. That's what they do. A pulmonologist deals with some of the respiratory or the lungs. So then you have pulmonologists, cardiologists kind of deal with some of what we're discussing today. Okay, we're going to land our plane soon. External fertilization and internal fertilization. What is the difference between these two? One is outside, one is inside. What are we talking about? What's external fertilization? Fertilization that occurs outside the parent's bodies. That's it. So outside the parent's bodies, right? So outside the parent's body. And internal would be what? Inside the parent's body, right? So those are the definitions that are good to know. So, fertilization that occurs inside the parent's body. Okay, so we're almost, let's see, number 9. Okay, we're making progress. I'm going to let you guys work on the characteristics as you read through, but let me just see any other definitions we want to hit. Closed circulatory system. That would be the opposite of open circulatory system, right?
Wow.
So, pretty straightforward, open and closed. In a closed circulatory system, the blood is confined to what? Blood vessels. Blood is confined to blood confined to blood vessels. Okay? So that's number 9, closed circulatory system. Number 10, molting. So it talks about the earthworm. We talk about phylum Annelida. It talks about earthworm, which leads to our dissections. Under this, leeches. Anyone know what leeches are? Are they terrible?
No. Not one. My friend got one so bad on his arm once when he pulled it off, he started bleeding.
Really? Did it like go into his?
It wasn't like in his arm, but it was on him really good.
Oh, it's really they get hold tight, right?
Yeah, I got one as a kid.
I've had multiple.
Really?
I mean,
Well,
usually
lots
like
of
fishing bait.
Oh, so you use them for fishing. Some of you like to fish. Do we use earthworms for fishing too? Okay.
I usually.
I'm new to fishing, so.
I usually use lures.
So leeches are also under this phylum called Annelida. Actually, they don't mention it here, but over in number 14, the parts of an earthworm, we're under the category of Annelida. Remember when we talked about phylum and kingdom and class? That would be like the phylum Annelida. Okay? Again, this is an overview discussion. We can't cover everything. Sorry, I know you haven't read it, but hang tight. Molting is the shedding and replacing of an old outer covering. Okay? So molting is the shedding and replacing of an outer covering. Shedding and replacing of outer covering. Oh, by the way, I should have told you guys, what I'm writing on the board is actually your chapter review questions too, just so you know. So if you're writing this, you're doing your chapter reviews right now. Okay? Yes, that's what I'm doing on the board as well. So basically, if you do this, you're covering that one. So just read the chapter, sit back by the fireplace, and enjoy the reading. Because this is all you need. Okay, so molting is the shedding and replacing of outer covering of something. Okay? Compound eyes and simple eyes. Our eyes are amazing, guys. Our eyes are amazing. And there's a book called Darwin's Black Box where Michael Behe talks about how do you see. Have you guys ever tried to learn how you see? Anyone know how you see? Like when you see a thing, do you know that it's actually upside down?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you have seeing the thing, okay, involves several things. It involves rods and cones. It involves biochemical processes that have to take place. And then when it comes, then your optic nerve then has to take that to your brain and then it converts it properly. Isn't that something?
So if you're
And you tell me there were an accident?
So why don't we just flip our eyes and then like turn off that system and then we don't have extra stuff going on?
No. Oh, no, we're not going to do that. But the human eye is amazing. But then we talk about some of these other organisms that have compound eyes. It's just something else. Okay, so a compound eye is an eye that is made up of many small viewing units, each of which produces an image. Many small viewing units. So think about, and this is on page, let's pull it up here, on page 275. A compound eye is an eye that is made up of many small viewing units, each of which produces an image. A simple eye is an eye that is made up of one lens, which produces one image. So one lens, which produces one image. Okay, so one lens produces one image. Okay, while a compound eye is made up of many small viewing units. Okay, and next time I'll try to write this better so it's easier to see, but I was hoping you can also follow along and we tell you the page number and you just write it out. So the compound eye is made up of many small viewing units. So go ahead and this is on page 275. Okay, and then your book turns the corner and it talks about arachnids. Arachnids right here. Anyone know what arachnophobia is?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, people are like, I don't have arachnophobia. Well, wait till you see a black widow or a brown recluse. Then it's like, okay, maybe I have a little bit of that. Right? Do you guys know what those are?
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are terrible.
They're cool.
I have a fake one.
They're cool on the pages of the book. Yeah, they look cool. Okay, Audra has a comment.
My dad, when he was living in California, he said the birds in the barn, if they move stuff, they'd be like, there's a bad widow, what if this come out?
I'm not moving to California, that's for sure. Other than other reasons, but that one. If you have black widows in your state, I'm sorry. I know this cold is much, it's not cold, but this weather is tough, but you know what, any day. This overseen a brown recluse. Florida people, I don't know if they see.
We have brown recluses here and in Wisconsin.
You mean
We also have, yeah,
I don't
I
know.
know.
we also have,
I'm
we
good,
have,
right?
I didn't know.
yeah.
I mean, like, go to the
Okay, sorry, Simon, yes.
river away.
Where my grandparents live in Arizona, they have like tarantulas and like scorpions and stuff, and like all over the place.
Amos,
Yeah.
you have
Oh,
black
yeah.
widows in North Dakota.
Yeah, see, and I'm not afraid, guys, okay? I'm a pretty tough guy, okay? I just don't want to see them, okay? Yeah. I saw a snake one time, what's that thing we see? Garter snakes or whatever? And I'm just like, I just don't like these things.
Garter
and-
snakes are nice. I want to catch one.
Yeah, good for you.
Mr. Tarfa,
Yes.
there was a garter snake swimming where everyone else was swimming, so I picked it up and it reached around and bit my hand.
Ouch.
I know, okay, okay, well, I know who to talk to if I need someone to protect me. Yes, go
Well,
ahead.
they have this tarantula thing in it.
You do?
Yeah, it's dead, of course.
I'll be so straight.
But we used to have these friends over and they were so scared of it. We were just chasing them around screaming.
Okay, can you bring that in to show them? Okay. Anybody have specimen they want to bring? And
I
just
can
call
bring-
us to your mom's car when you bring it and see it and then we'll run back. Anyone have any other organisms you can see?
I can get live wolf spiders. The biggest one you can see is like that big.
Okay. So these are we're talking of arachnids. And some people literally feel like they will faint if they see a spider. The good news is you don't have to worry about that. Just don't play with them because of the venom problem. But just know the kind.
venomous.
Not all, as I said, not all. Some. Talking about logic and apologetics, isn't it cool that these guys have webs still? Like that, some of it. Isn't that amazing? I think what would be cool, and then we should land our plane. Let me see. Oh, well, actually, at the end, this is the last one. What would be cool is you go from biology class to worship music. Why? Because you are amazed by the hand of God. Does that make sense? Like, if you remove God from the equation, you're taking it lightly. Oh yeah, that's an organism. It makes webs. What's the big deal? It's a big deal. Where did it get the ability to do it? Did you guys see what I'm saying? That's where education without God is really a problem. Because you're removing the credit where credit is due. You talk about how, and many scientists will do this. Oh, we have such an amazing nervous system. It's so amazing. Look what evolution did to give it. Wait. It's so amazing. Can we talk about God? Oh no, he didn't do it. It's like, without him, one more analogy, and then Cedric, I know you have your hand up. C.S. Lewis said this. Remember Lewis? We read him. He's a pretty cool guy. He said that if you think you came from bacteria or some other organism, I'm just paraphrasing, then basically you just undermine your intellectual ability. Now think about it. Why do you trust your mental capability if you're just some descendant of bacteria? Or some, if it all came through chance. But if it came through a designer, it makes sense that I should trust it. It makes sense. Yes, sir.
In the spring, if you want me to, I can bring a spider to school.
What kind are we talking about?
One of the wolf spiders, the smaller ones.
Okay.
Or I can bring a garter snake.
No, we'll be fine. I think
Or we
we
can
know
bring
what snakes are.
frogs or centipedes or millipedes.
Bring the wolf spider, put it in a little glass case, I appreciate it, lock it up, and then we'll see it.
I have held them. I haven't been bitten twice by them.
You have been?
Getting bitten by wolf spiders is not that bad.
Yeah.
I get bit when I'm asleep. Like I just wake up with
Oh,
spider.
that reminds me, isn't it true that there's some spider legs you can find in chocolate? Is that true? And that we swallow quite a few spiders in our lifetime, is that true?
I've heard that it's
Don't tell anyone. I'm sorry, I ruined your Kit Kat. Okay, any final questions before we dismiss? Oh, actually, pollinator. Let's say pollinator and then we'll call it good. This is on page, actually it talks about butterflies, Lily. And then millipedes, centipedes. Let me get the last definition here. Your comprehensive check should not be too bad. A pollinator is an animal that carries pollen from one plant to another to aid in fertilization. You guys will be talking a little bit about beetles. We'll talk about bees. which I didn't grow up with bees, but I saw in a movie, we watched a movie as kids, and the bee stung someone, and then the person, I think, died or something. So then when coming to America, your mindset about bees is kind of weird.
Very allergic.
But if you're allergic, yes, it can really be bad. And then hornets,
They don't even hurt.
talk about the fall, that's like hornets are like part of the problem. Like, if you're gonna sting me once and then go away, yeah, good, okay, let's call it good. But you're gonna continually sting, you're just wicked, okay? And that's where hornets and wasps, wicked. Anyways, we're gonna talk about those in this chapter. And Mrs. Durham, I just remembered, she actually has a whole case of some of these. So why don't we do a tour of her room next Monday? Sound good? Where we actually get to see all these things and their sizes. Final questions before you leave, yes?
It's not a question, it's about the bee thing. Courage. This summer kept trying to get stung by a bee because he's never been stung. And he would like grab a bee and try to make it sting him.
Do you know that the bee stings you as a last resort? Like, it doesn't want, the bees are not just like, we're gonna sting today. They will die.
Yeah.
Okay, Audrey.
So that's why wasps don't die, is because they pull their stinger out, so they can just sting you over and over again.
They're just wicked.
Well, like the stinger like stays in you and like.
Mr. Tarfa.
What about hornets? Hornets.
I think it's.
Hornets, right?
It's pretty painful.
Oh,
I have
yes.
such a good story. So I was tubing with my friend, and when I got back in, I felt like a really strong pinch on my chest. So I looked in my life jacket. There was a bee chilling right there.
Wow, it went to be with you?
Yeah, it was going tubing with me, and then I got mad that we were done.
Wow. Yeah, I actually went tubing in 2007 and then I retired. Because I thought the point of tubing is that the person is pulling along and you're enjoying the breeze of the water. And then I realized they wanted me to get off the tube. I'm like,
Were
no.
they was it Minnesota or North Dakota?
It was Minnesota. So then,
That's why you
and I
go
was
60
gone.
miles an hour, so the waves are massive.
And I'm like, I'm done with this thing. Yes.
The reason bees die from stinging you is because they have like barbs on their stinger and they're like half their body gets like ripped out.
Really?
Well, like the end part of the stinger
The
rips it out.
inside.
Wow, we should watch a video on bees stinging and kind of the biology. By the way, with bees though, when you kill a bee, like here, I believe there's a smell that can, like their friends can kind of sense, hey, something's up.
Bees are actually endangered.
Oh, sorry.
But hornets are not.
Is it?
Hornets are everywhere.
Oh, both.
Hornets are
Okay,
massive.
Gideon is gonna send us off. Yes.
Have you seen the giant hornets? Like, in the woods? Like,
Like the killer one?
they're this.
The hornets? Yeah. I need to walk around with the little net thing to just
Or what
catch
about,
these
have you
things.
seen a cicada killer?
Oh, don't.
No.
I never don't.
Send me one.
Don't.
The link. You guys are dismissed in English or your math class. Math, I'll see you guys in my
Their
class.
stinger's like an inch long. They live in Tarfa, North Dakota. I saw someone caught one. They don't attack humans, so.
Oh, it's time.